Hello, I'm Louise Jordan. Welcome to this video series, Discovering Florence Nightingale Through Songwriting. This is the second in a series of 5 videos where I explore 5 themes relating to Florence Nightingale whilst sharing 5 aspects of my songwriting practice using a different song I've written about Florence Nightingale to demonstrate. The videos have been created for anyone who's interested in finding out about Florence Nightingale, and also for people who are interested in writing songs, whether that's reflecting on your own songwriting process or whether you're relatively new to songwriting. In the first video, I looked at how I identify what I want to write about and how I use research to generate lots of words and ideas. In this second video, I'm going to talk about how I turn these notes into song lyrics. And I'm going to discuss Florence Nightingale's work as a pioneering statistician, how she used evidence to hold people in power to account. If you're using this workshop series to work through my 5 steps to songwriting and create your own composition, you might want to pause at certain points to complete the tasks I suggest. Once I've decided what I'm writing about and who I'm writing it for, I think about how I'm going to engage the listener. If I were writing a song teaching children how to tell the time, I might use simple language and lots of repetition. A song about something more conceptual, like the human relationship with nature, would sound entirely different. And again, that will be very different from a song which was calling for change in government policy. I wrote a song called Statistics Save Lives for the live production and subsequent album Florence, which I'll use here as an example. I felt angry when I found a teaching resource for primary school children relating to Florence Nightingale's life and legacy. The resource acknowledges that teaching history impacts the way that children see the world and the people in it, and yet the same resource teaches that Florence Nightingale was a nurse who cleaned kitchens, washed sheets and prepared food, whilst getting engineers to carry out her ideas for hospital design and reform. In reality, Florence Nightingale worked as a nurse for only 2 years during the Crimean War, but she spent decades working as a statistician, using data and evidence to improve the lives of people worldwide. To me, this learning resource contains a gross misrepresentation of Florence Nightingale's work and achievements, and it's a lost opportunity to promote Florence Nightingale as a pioneering statistician and a role model working in the fields of science, technology, engineering and mathematics. I decided to write a song in response to what I found. I didn't want it to be a typical protest song. I decided to use my negative feelings of anger and frustration to create a piece that might be useful in changing the narrative through which Florence Nightingale is taught and remembered. Perhaps Statistics Save Lives could even be a song that schools use to teach a more comprehensive view of Florence Nightingale, celebrating her work as a statistician. If you're writing along with this video, you might want to pause here to think about how you're going to communicate the meaning of your song to your audience. When I started to write lyrics for Statistics Save Lives, I knew that I wanted it to have a catchy chorus. I wanted the message to be clear and I wanted it to stay in people's minds. It's a song for children and families, so I wanted it to be lyrically quite straightforward. Not all songs that I wrote for Florence have a chorus. Mr. Daly is a ballad with a strong storyline, written to draw attention to the neglect of a poor man who died from a lack of health and social care. I decided that a chorus would interrupt the narrative flow. The song Pedestal doesn't have a chorus, but it uses a different type of repetition. It repeats a different word in each verse to make a series of related points. For Statistics Save Lives, I wanted to send the clear message that Florence was a statistician, so I knew I wanted that word to be in the chorus. I also wanted to make the point that Florence had a calling from God to save lives, which links to her reputation as a nurse in the Crimean War. I thought this would draw on what people already know about Florence Nightingale and build on it. Statistics helped Florence to save lives. This became Statistics Save Lives. I think it's catchy, it's alliterative, and it communicates a lot in just 3 words.
Statistics save lives.
Once I'd established a clear message for the chorus, I went back to my notes and worked out what else I wanted to say in the chorus. What were the most important ideas that should be repeated throughout the song? I wanted to say that maths and science are for everyone, regardless of their gender. And I wanted to challenge the gender stereotypes that girls are good at writing and expressing their feelings, while boys are good at maths and understanding how the world works. I wanted to show that Florence used maths to understand and improve the world. I also wanted the song to talk about Florence Nightingale's use of facts and data because of the relevance of her working methods today, when the idea of fake news and taking statistics out of context is becoming more familiar.
We need maths and we need science, facts that can be analysed. We'll use the proof that we've collected, statistics save lives. We'll use the proof that we've collected, statistics save lives.
Florence Nightingale believed in the importance of building a clear picture based on facts, leading to evidence-based policy decisions. After working as a nurse during the Crimean War, Florence was frustrated by the number of soldiers who died during the conflict. She'd been interested in data since her childhood, when she convinced her parents to allow her to learn maths. After the Crimean War, Florence collected data on the causes of death amongst the soldiers of the British Army. She wanted to identify trends and causal factors and to work out how improvements to systems could save lives. I took the main themes that I'd identified for Statistics Save Lives: maths and science for everyone, maths for understanding the world, and fact-based decision-making. I then started to map out words and phrases that relate to these themes. When I got stuck, I used the thesaurus in my word processor, and sometimes I did an online search for synonyms, for example, different words for data, facts, and information. I decided I wanted the chorus to rhyme so that it would be more memorable. And I decided which rhyming scheme to use based on how many rhymes I could get from the words that I'd come up with. Statistics Save Lives uses the rhyme scheme A, B, C, B, where the second and fourth lines rhyme, but the first and third don't. To come up with some rhyming words, you could go through the alphabet in your head. I'm a fan of words that aren't obvious rhymes, and I find that using a rhyming dictionary can be helpful if I get a bit stuck. For example, the word science rhymes with defiance, appliance, and alliance. But the dictionary can help me to come up with some words that I might not obviously think of, like arrogance and negligence and intelligence. It's a bit like putting a jigsaw puzzle together at this stage. I try different combinations of the words I've come up with to create unusual phrases and avoid cliché. And I say the phrases out loud so that I can keep the different lines roughly the same length. Songwriters, you might want to press pause on your video now whilst you write your chorus. If you need a bit more direction, perhaps you could aim for a 4-line chorus. You could start by underlining the most important words in your notes and see if there's any alliteration amongst the words that you already have. Decide if you want your chorus to rhyme, and if so, what rhyme scheme you want to use. If you'd like more input, try writing 8 beats per line, putting the emphasis on the first and fifth syllables. We need maths and we need science, for example. I'm interested in your views. Which national figures did you learn about at school? What did they do? Who do you wish had been on the national curriculum, and who would you recommend to be on the curriculum now? How do you imagine the curriculum has changed over time? And has your experience of school impacted your view of gender identity? If you're interested in exploring this theme further, I recommend the Glasgow Women's Library, the Women's Library at London School of Economics, and the Women's History Network, all of which have resources that you can order or access online, and there are many more. Thank you for watching this video. In the third video of the series, I'll look at how I write verses, whilst also exploring Florence Nightingale's work campaigning for equal access to healthcare for all.